This interview is brought to you by Tammy Curtis Studios. Tammy Curtis is a Louisiana native whose art is based on the rich history, music, culture, and nature of Louisiana. Her use of rich color combined with her spontaneous brushstroke technique grabs you at first glance.
It's raining so hard, brings back memories of the times when you were here with me. This is a time I'd love to be holding you tight. I guess I'll just go crazy tonight.
Welcome back to another Red Stick Spotlight. I'm sitting here with a musical legend, the soul queen of New Orleans herself, Miss Irma Thomas. She was recently in Baton Rouge performing a fundraising concert for Baton Rouge Magnet High School, and she's been so gracious to agree to sit down and chat with us about her life and music. So, Ms. Irma, thank you so much for being here.
You're so welcome.
So, the first thing I wanted to ask you about is a mutual friend of ours mentioned to me that she heard that your first paying gig was at 100 Men Hall in Bay St. Louis.
It sure was.
And in all my research, I've never found anything about that. I think that's a story that people would find really interesting.
Well, when you're talking about the late 50s, early 60s, and people really didn't concern themselves about stuff like that. They didn't find out till later when I told her that, yeah, one of my first professional gig before I had recorded a record was there with the band that I got fired for singing on the job with, who hired me to go out there. And it was funny because he had worked on the door, and it rained that day, so they didn't make that much money. So what we earned, we shared the money to buy gas to get back to New Orleans.
Wow.
And it's funny, I've never played that hall since that time.
Wow.
Not once since that time.
Wow. That's interesting.
I know.
I couldn't find anything about that. So.
You probably won't. You probably the first who even asked, to tell you the truth.
Well, thank you for sharing that. So one unmistakable quality of your style as an artist is your commitment to storytelling.
Yes.
I've heard it said that it's really important to you that you understand the lyrics in the song and that you bring your own stories into the songs that you sing. If it's all right, I've got a quote here from you. Mm-hmm. I've sung songs in the studio and literally cried while doing them. Mm-hmm. Something would come up, a memory or something that I can relate to or that song fit that situation. And rather than stop and go in the corner and cry, I just go down and sing the song with tears meeting under my chin. I've done that many times. Mm-hmm. Why has it always been so important to you to be a storyteller?
I think songs should mean something to people. If it doesn't mean anything to me, I can't expect it to mean anything to the listeners or the purchasers, who people are going to be purchasing it. So I would rather sing a song that has a meaning to it. So if there's a time in your life that one of my songs may get you through a situation or make you happy or what have you, it's saying something. It makes sense. Songs that don't make sense to me, I can't sing, because if it doesn't make any sense to me, I can't imagine who's making any sense to anybody else. But evidently it does, because a lot of them sell lots of records. But I'm not one who can do that. I've never been able to sing a nonsense record.
It has to be genuine from the heart.
It has to make sense to me. There's a lot of repetition in a lot of songs nowadays. There's some songs in fact, there's one on the radio that I recently heard. One line is sung for a good 3 or 4 minutes. The one line sung several different ways, but it's the same thing. Like, what was the point? Where's the story there? So, oh well. But that's what they're accepting nowadays.
Right. So I guess it's changed somewhat over the years.
It has changed a lot, but I still feel, and I always will until I'm gone, that songs should make sense. They should have some story to be told, or some phrase should be in it that it's understandable, that you can relate to. And other than that, to me, it's a waste of studio time.
So another quality of your style is the emphasis you place on personal connection with the audience. Even from the very beginning, you've always taken time to connect with your audience. I watched you on American Bandstand on YouTube from back in the day. And they asked if you had time to stay for autographs, and you said, oh, I have plenty of time.
Sure.
And I know that also you always take audience requests because you want to make sure that people get to hear the song they came hoping to hear.
Exactly.
So I think that's really special. What prompted you to take that approach?
Well, I look at it from the perspective of being an audience participant. If I'm in the audience and I've spent whatever amount of money it cost me to get in there to see that show, I would want to hear the song that I like by that artist. Not necessarily something that they just recorded and they want to push off on me. They can do that later or do it early and then do what I want later. But I've had and seen that happen many times where artists is promoting a new CD or weren't CDs back in the day, but record. And they would sing all the new stuff, and the people who spent their money to come hear songs that was their favorites didn't get to hear that, and they were very disappointed. So I would rather, if you're going to spend whatever the price is and you coming to catch my show, I don't care if the song is 100 years old and you want to hear it, that's what you paid to come here, then that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think you'll be a lot more satisfied hearing something that you're familiar with, that you relate to, than something I want to push off on you. I mean, I can let you know that I have a new CD out, and maybe I'll sing a couple of songs from that CD and give you that choice to later buy it or buy it later, whatever. But for that moment while you're there, you want to hear your favorite song by Irma Thomas. So I try to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's what should be done.
Yeah. You're very genuine. Okay, so I watched the interview that you did with Alan Toussaint on the Blues Cruise in 2015, and it was obvious that you meant so much to him. I've heard it said that when he would be writing a song, he would often hear your voice in his head, and he considered you to be his muse.
That's what he said.
And I've got a quote here from him. When I wrote every song that I've written for Irma, she was sitting there at the time, so I had instant gratification. It made it hard on judgment because I couldn't judge whether a song sounds good or bad. She just sounds good on everything. You were lifelong friends, and you obviously worked well together.
Yeah.
What do you think made y'all mesh so well?
I think it was because we were born at a time when we all grew up in a neighborhood where neighborhood and family and friends were important. We placed some value on friendship. And it was back then, friendship developed out of being together on work situations like we were. In fact, I met Alan long before I started recording, but he didn't remember it because it was just a brief moment. But when we did start working together, it just kind of gelled. We kind of neighborhood friends, and we just, the friendship just gelled from there. But I was kind of taken back when he said that my voice was something that he used to write songs, but I was like, huh?
You didn't
but
know
if
that.
I'm okay with it, if he's okay with it.
That's funny. So for those of you who don't know, the Blues Cruise brings together some of the most legendary performers, and you were actually the first female to be featured on a poster for the Blues Cruise.
Yes.
And the artist, Tammy Curtis, portrayed you as a mermaid, which is very fitting as mermaids are the stuff of legends, and also in Greek mythology they were sirens, which would hypnotize listeners with their enchanting voices. So how did it feel to be painted
it felt great.
as a blues mermaid?
It was a surprise, and even if she had not told me, I would have said, that looks a lot like me. But I felt very honored in that she did a beautiful job of portraying me as a mermaid. And it wasn't something that you had to try to figure out, well, who is that? You knew who it was. And the honor of the fact that the Blues Cruise people decided that it was okay for me to be one of their first female featured poster features. So I was very honored. A little bit overwhelmed also.
Is it something you're not used to, being a mermaid?
Well, it's not so much that I'm not used to it, because I've been on posters for Jazz Fest at least, I would almost say 3 times, but not as the featured Jazz Fest poster. I've only been the featured Jazz Fest poster twice, but I've been on other featured posters where I'm part of it. But to be that particular poster and being on that cruise line, and with that particular situation with the legendary Blues Cruise. And people have to understand that's one of the most laid-back cruises you ever want to be on. You don't have to dress up. unless you want to. And everybody who can think they can play an instrument brings the instrument, and they have jam night. I mean, you really enjoy the cruise for what it's worth, because you become a part of what's going on the cruise. So you can be a star just like somebody else can be a star. And it really makes it a wonderful situation for everybody. But to be on there and a featured part of it, other than as a performer, was quite overwhelming.
That's wonderful. Now, Alan Toussaint actually wrote many of your early songs, and you've worked with many esteemed composers over the years. But there's one song that I know of that you wrote yourself, Wish Someone Would Care, and that was during a difficult time in your life. And that song actually ended up being one of your most popular songs on the charts. Did you ever pursue songwriting again after that?
I wrote a couple of others since that time, and I've co-written quite a few since that time with Dan Penn and Carson Wissett. But unless it comes up and I can get to a recorder real quick, it doesn't stay very long. So I probably missed out on several million sellers, who knows. But I don't consider myself a prolific songwriter, so I'm not too upset if I didn't put something down right away. I get a little upset for about a hot minute. But yes, I've written some things that not too bad, not too bad.
Okay. So, also during that interview on the Blues Cruise in 2015, you mentioned that you were trying to write a book, but you kept getting distracted from it. You didn't know if that was going to happen. Are you still writing that book?
I'm still distracted from it. For some reason, every time I make an attempt to sit down and start my outline to start the book, I get distracted. For some reason, I don't think it's time for me to write it just yet. When time comes, I'll get more dedicated to getting it done. I'm not being pushed, even though I'm not getting any younger, and I don't know when I'm going to get pushed, but I hope before I leave this side of the living that I do get it written down, because so many people have said that I am inspiring to them. And I think they would like to see why I do what I do the way I do it, because so many of us as entertainers, they see us as stars, but they don't see us as being very human and having ups and downs in their life. So I would like to show them in writing, tell them in writing rather, what I went through, so they can understand why I am the way I am. I'm an only child, so I had lots of battles to fight. So I think it might be an interesting book. If not, it'll be a very boring book. At least they'll have a copy of it.
So that's what the book would tell us, is your life story.
It's basically not so much my life story, because, I mean, it would take a few volumes to do that, but I would take, for instances, in parts of my life where I felt that I had gone through something that other mothers basically would have gone through, and how I got through it as opposed to how they dealt with it, and maybe some who eventually may become mothers and make decisions based on their situation at that time. And if something I've gone through, can help them get through it a little easier than I did, then that's basically what the book will be about.
Wow, that's awesome. So what are some of your biggest influences, and has that changed over the years?
My biggest influence is survival. I started singing, so not so much because I thought you could make a living at it. I just happened to love singing, and that's how I got into business, losing a couple of jobs behind it. But when I was growing up, there were people like Ruth Brown, Nellie Lutcher, B.B. King, Etta James. They were young recording artists at that time, and my dad used to play a lot of their music in the house. He was a big blues fan, so he played a lot of Percy Mayfield, a lot of B.B. King, a lot of the older entertainers, blues singers at that time. So I was around music all the time. And then in school, I was always called upon to represent the school, to do various programs or what have you. When we'd go out during the holidays and sing for all the nursing homes, I was a part of the group that was a part of the school choir that had to go out and do that. So I've always enjoyed singing. And so my inspiration was more or less just enjoying what I do. I used to love to watch Pearl Bailey on television. So, and people used to say that, well, you act a lot like Pearl Bailey, which is cool. She was a real down-to-earth lady. And she seemed very comfortable with herself on stage. And I'm very comfortable with what I do.
I can see that. So is there any advice that you would give to young singers who look up to you?
Well, hopefully I'm doing them justice by them looking up to me, but I would feel that if you enjoy singing, do what you love to do, but have a daytime job to be able to pay your way, because everyone who can sing and can sing well don't always get the breaks of being a professional singer. I was blessed that my singing ability got me into a position where I was able to take care of my family, but that doesn't always happen. But I don't tell them to give up on it, but always get every opportunity that you can sing in front of an audience. Do that so you can get, as we say, get your sea legs in the singing business, but always have another job that you can do. If you're going to school, learn something in school that can help you make a living and use singing as your sideline. And if singing takes over, great, but you won't starve to death trying to be an entertainer, because all entertainers don't always have it good all the time. There'll be some lean times where you may have to do something else to earn a living, which I had to do. And so it's always good to have a backup, as we say.
Right. It's a fierce business. What types of music do you like to listen to?
I like old school R&B, and I like rhythm and blues if it's done well and it has a song that has a good story. I'll listen to it, but there's not a lot of that going on right now. So I've become a game show network addict.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, I learn a lot from watching Jeopardy, and I enjoy watching The Price is Right because I like the reaction of the folks. It's so hilarious. Some of the things people do on TV, if they could see themselves, they would say, "Did I do that?" But I enjoy that, and I'm not one who will listen to myself at home a lot. Oftentimes when I have a show to do and I haven't done one in a while, I'll have to put some of my own records on and refresh my memory on my own music. Well, I'm not 20 anymore. I don't remember like I used to. So if you notice, I carry my iPad with my lyrics in it, and there's a reason for that, because as you get older, your memory is there, but recall is not always as sharp as you'd like it to be. So I don't rely on recall. I just pull it up there and read it.
Right. And you have so much material.
Well,
so.
I mean, when you've been singing for 60 years professionally, there's a lot of material you cover. You don't always do all of it at any given time. So, yeah, you have to go back and relearn a lot of stuff. I've had people ask me for songs I forgot I even recorded. And I would say, wait a minute, what's some of the lyrics in that one? And if they tell me, sometimes I can remember it and sometimes I can't.
Wow.
But I let them know that I'm human, first of all. And here I am, and this is December of 2019. I'm 78 years old. I don't expect to remember everything, and I'm hoping they don't expect me to remember everything. But as long as I try to give them what I can of what they want to hear, and they're happy, then that's what makes me happy.
Well, that is all I've got. Thank you so much, Miss Irma, for being here with us today. This has been such an honor.
My pleasure.
We're so proud to be able to talk to you. So
Pleasure's all mine.
thank you very much.
It's raining so hard, look like it's gonna rain all night. And this is the time I'd love to be holding you tight. I guess I'll have to accept the fact that you're not here. I wish tonight would hurry up and end, my dear. It's raining so hard, it's really coming down. Sitting by my window, watching the rain fall to the ground. This is the time I'd love to be holding you tight. I guess I'll just go crazy tonight.
Thanks again to Tammy Curtis Studios for making this interview possible. Tammy's art is available as a wide variety of products. Full-size paintings on canvas, posters, prints, postcards, magnets, Christmas ornaments, and more. In addition to her one-of-a-kind works of art, Tammy offers commissionable work such as family portraits, pet portraits, live event paintings, and more. Contact her today for more details.
Would hurry up and stop. I've got the blues so bad I could hardly catch my breath. The harder it rains, the worse it get.